Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most misunderstood and myth-filled topics of all time, sex. Let's unpack the 22 biggest lies we've been told about it. Some might shock you. Let's begin. Lie 1. Sex education tells you everything you need to know. Most people think their school sex ed class taught them everything. Wrong. School-based sex education is often incomplete, awkward, or outdated. It usually focuses on anatomy, reproduction, and disease prevention, while completely ignoring pleasure, consent, communication, and emotional dynamics. That leaves a massive knowledge gap. Many adults grow up confused about their own desires, boundaries, and what a healthy sex life looks like. Worse, many schools avoid LGBTQ+ topics altogether, creating even more exclusion and misinformation. Real sex education should be inclusive, honest, and holistic, addressing emotional intelligence, consent culture, pleasure, body image, and communication. Just like math and science, sex education needs updates, nuance, and depth to be truly effective. So, no, what you learned in that 9th grade class wasn't the whole truth. It was just the tip of the iceberg. Lie 2. Men always want sex and women rarely do. One of the most damaging myths is that men are sex-obsessed and women are uninterested. This oversimplifies human sexuality and ignores the vast range of desire that exists in all genders. In reality, desire fluctuates based on factors like stress, health, emotional connection, and life circumstances, not just gender. Many women have strong sex drives, and many men experience low libido. But because of this lie, women who enjoy sex may feel ashamed or judged, while men who aren't constantly in the mood feel broken. These stereotypes also pressure people into unhealthy behaviors, like faking interest or pushing past personal boundaries. Sexual desire isn't about gender, it's about the individual. Embracing this truth allows for healthier, more authentic sexual relationships based on mutual respect and communication, not assumptions and shame. Lie 3. Sex equals intercourse only. Many people grow up thinking sex only means penis and vagina intercourse. That's incredibly limiting and false. Sex can include kissing, touching, oral sex, mutual masturbation, and other forms of intimacy. For LGBTQ+ folks, defining sex only as intercourse erases entire experiences. This narrow definition also puts pressure on performance, making people think that anything less is inadequate. In reality, sex is a broad spectrum of intimate, consensual acts that bring pleasure and connection. Some people can't or don't want to have penetrative sex, and that's perfectly valid. Understanding sex as a multifaceted experience, not a single act, leads to healthier expectations and more fulfilling relationships. Broadening this definition also helps normalize communication around needs, preferences, and boundaries. So let's stop thinking of sex as one act and start embracing the full, diverse range of sexual experiences that count. Lie 4. Everyone's doing it, a lot. It's easy to think that everyone is constantly having amazing, frequent sex, especially if you follow media or social platforms. But studies show that many people have far less sex than you'd assume. In fact, rates of sexual activity have been declining in many age groups. This myth creates pressure and anxiety, making people feel behind or abnormal. People may even rush into unwanted encounters just to catch up. The truth? Everyone's sexual timeline and frequency is different. Some people are very active, others aren't, and that's okay. Healthy sexuality isn't about numbers. It's about consent, enjoyment, and connection. There's no ideal frequency or age to start. What matters is mutual respect, readiness, and your own comfort, not peer pressure or pop culture lies. Lie 5. Porn is a realistic depiction of sex. Pornography is designed for entertainment, not education. Yet many people use it as a guide for what sex should look like. That's dangerous. Porn often showcases unrealistic bodies, exaggerated responses, and extreme acts, all edited for fantasy. It rarely includes things like communication, consent, foreplay, or aftercare. Watching it without critical thinking can skew expectations, leading to shame, insecurity, or dissatisfaction. It may even affect how people treat partners, with some mimicking behavior that isn't consensual or safe in real life. That doesn't mean porn is bad, but it needs to be understood in context. Sex in real life is messier, slower, and built on trust, not instant perfection. The key is media literacy. Learning to recognize what's real, what's not, and what's healthy. Treat porn like you would a movie stunt. Impressive but not real life. Lie 6. You should know what you're doing instinctively. Many people believe that sexual skill should come naturally, that you're just supposed to know. This idea creates huge anxiety and leads to silence. But sex is a learned skill just like cooking, dancing, or communication. No one is born knowing how to pleasure another person or express their needs clearly. It takes education, experience, self-awareness, and most importantly, communication. The myth of instinctual knowledge stops people from asking questions, setting boundaries, or admitting when they're confused. Worse, it makes people feel shame for not measuring up. In reality, being good at sex means being curious, communicative, respectful, and responsive, not magically perfect. The best lovers are those who listen, learn, and grow. If you can talk openly and explore with respect, you're doing it right. Forget the pressure to be a natural. Lie 7. Virginity is a real, definable thing. Virginity is often treated as a biological marker, especially for women. But the concept is totally subjective. There's no universal definition of when someone loses their virginity. Is it penetration? Oral sex? Emotional intimacy? Everyone draws that line differently. More importantly, virginity is a social and cultural construct, used to police behavior, especially among women and queer people. Some cultures even wrongly claim that the hymen is a proof of virginity, but science shows that the hymen can stretch, tear, or remain intact from a variety of non-sexual activities. Clinging to the idea of virginity can create shame, pressure, or even violence. Instead, we should focus on readiness, consent, and mutual respect, not arbitrary milestones. Losing virginity isn't about a single act. It's about choice, meaning, and context. Lie 8. Talking about sex is dirty or wrong. From childhood, many people are taught not to talk about sex. It's seen as taboo, dirty, or shameful. But silence doesn't make sex safer. It makes it more dangerous. When people feel they can't ask questions or express concerns, they're more likely to engage in risky or confusing situations. Communication is the foundation of healthy sex. Talking about desires, boundaries, preferences, and concerns helps build trust and prevent harm. Silence, on the other hand, can lead to consent violations, miscommunication, and emotional disconnect. Talking about sex doesn't make you vulgar, it makes you responsible. We need to normalize open, respectful conversations about intimacy in relationships, education, and society. Sex isn't bad or shameful, lack of communication is. Let's make dialogue the new norm. Lie 9. Great sex should be spontaneous and passionate every time. Movies and shows often depict sex as a spontaneous, fiery moment of passion. No planning, no talking, just magic. In real life, that's rarely the case. Great sex often takes planning, intentionality, and effort. Whether it's discussing boundaries, setting the mood, or making time in a busy schedule, preparation is part of the process. Spontaneity is nice, but it's not the gold standard. Many couples find that scheduled or intentional intimacy can be just as, if not more, satisfying. What? Because you're both invested, present, and connected. There's no pressure to perform on cue. Plus, different people have different arousal patterns. Some need more warm-up or mental preparation. Expecting instant fireworks can actually lead to disappointment. Real sex is about connection, communication, and comfort, not just raw heat. Ditch the Hollywood myth. Lie 10. Bigger is always better. The idea that penis size determines sexual satisfaction is one of the oldest and most harmful lies. It reduces intimacy to a body part and creates massive insecurity. In reality, sexual pleasure is much more complex. Emotional connection, communication, technique, and understanding a partner's needs matter far more than size. In fact, for many people, especially those with vulvas, penetration alone isn't even the most pleasurable part of sex. Clitoral stimulation, emotional closeness, and a sense of safety play a much bigger role. The obsession with size can even cause people to ignore more important aspects of intimacy. Let's be clear, good sex isn't about what you've got, it's about how you use it and how you connect. Confidence, kindness, and curiosity always outperform inches. Lie 11. Sex ends with orgasm. We often treat orgasm, especially male orgasm, as the final goal of sex. Once it happens, everything's done. But this mindset is limiting and exclusionary. Many people don't climax every time, and that's completely normal. Focusing only on orgasm turns sex into a performance or competition. It also creates pressure to finish rather than enjoy the journey. For some, pleasure comes from the experience itself, touch, closeness, and emotional intimacy. Good sex should be about mutual satisfaction, not just reaching a finish line. It's okay if orgasm happens, or doesn't. It's also okay if one partner climaxes before the other or not at all. Let's shift the focus from destination to connection. When both people feel seen, respected, and satisfied, that's great sex, orgasm or not. Lie 12. Consent is only needed once. Some people believe that once you've said yes to sex, or entered a relationship, consent is automatically ongoing. This is a dangerous and false assumption. Consent must be given freely, clearly, and continuously. Just because someone agreed yesterday doesn't mean they agree today. Just because someone is your partner doesn't mean they're always willing. Consent can be withdrawn at any time for any reason. Enthusiastic consent means both people are actively engaged and want to continue. Anything less isn't true consent. It's compliance or coercion. This myth leads to crossed boundaries, emotional harm, and even assault. Real consent is ongoing communication. It includes asking, checking in, and listening to body language. Respect is sexy. Let's redefine sex not just as an act, but as an agreement. One that can be changed, paused, or stopped at any time. Lie 13. LGBTQ+ sex doesn't count as real sex. This myth is deeply rooted in heteronormative bias. The idea that only penetrative sex between a man and a woman counts erases millions of valid experiences. LGBTQ+ individuals often face invalidation and exclusion in sex ed and media because their relationships don't fit a traditional mold. But real sex isn't about anatomy, it's about intimacy, desire, and connection. Sex between two women, two men, non-binary folks, or any combination is every bit as real, intimate, and valid. Reducing sex to one act or one type of body limits everyone's understanding. It can even affect healthcare, where queer people don't get the resources or education they deserve. Everyone deserves accurate, inclusive information and respect. Sex isn't one size fits all, and there is no correct way to be intimate. What matters is mutual desire, safety, and communication, period. Lie 14. Sex should always be amazing. We live in a culture that expects every sexual experience to be earth-shattering and perfect. Movies, books, and social media exaggerate everything, making regular people feel like failures. But the truth? Not every sexual encounter will be amazing, and that's completely normal. Sometimes you're tired, distracted, stressed, or not in sync with your partner. It doesn't mean your relationship is broken or that something's wrong with you. It means you're human. Learning what works takes time. There's value in the awkward moments, the laughs, and even the missteps. In fact, those are often the moments that build deeper trust and intimacy. Unrealistic expectations cause disappointment and pressure, especially when people think good sex just happens. In reality, great sex is a mix of communication, experimentation, vulnerability, and connection. Let go of perfection. It's not the goal. Presence, honesty, and shared joy are what matter most. Lie 15. Men can't be sexually assaulted. This myth is both harmful and flat out wrong. Men can and do experience sexual assault. But because of outdated ideas about masculinity, like men always want sex, or real men can defend themselves, many male survivors are silenced or ignored. They may feel ashamed, not be believed, or even blamed. That leads to severe emotional trauma and underreporting. Assault isn't about gender, it's about power and lack of consent. Anyone, regardless of gender or sexual orientation, can be a victim or a perpetrator. Men deserve support, resources, and validation too. We need to dismantle toxic beliefs that tell men they must always be strong, in control, or hypersexual. Healing starts with listening, believing survivors, and creating a culture of respect and empathy for all people. No one is immune to harm, and everyone deserves safety and dignity. Lie 16. Sexual orientation can be changed. This myth has caused unimaginable harm, especially through so-called conversion therapies or religious coercion. Let's be clear. Sexual orientation is not a choice, and it cannot be changed through force, therapy, or willpower. Science and psychology have repeatedly shown that attempts to change orientation don't work, and often result in trauma, depression, and suicidal ideation. Being gay, bisexual, asexual, pansexual, or anywhere else on the spectrum is natural. Trying to fix someone's orientation suggests that their identity is wrong, which is deeply damaging. Everyone deserves to love and be loved authentically. We need to embrace diversity, not punish it. The real issue isn't someone's orientation, it's the stigma and misunderstanding around it. Instead of trying to change people, we should change the systems that deny them acceptance and equality. Lie 17. Asexual people are just broken or haven't found the right person. Asexuality is a valid sexual orientation, not a dysfunction. Asexual people experience little to no sexual attraction, and that's completely normal for them. But they often face misunderstanding, dismissal, or pressure to fix themselves. This leads to identity struggles and isolation. Being asexual doesn't mean someone can't love, date, or form deep relationships. Some asexual people do have sex, others don't. What matters is choice and autonomy. Just like any orientation, asexuality exists on a spectrum. The problem isn't with asexual people. It's with a society that assumes sexual desire is a requirement for being normal. Everyone experiences sexuality differently, and no one should be labeled broken for it. Respecting asexual identities means recognizing that valid relationships and fulfilled lives don't have to include sex. Period. Lie 18. Sex should always be penetrative. Penetrative sex is often framed as the main event, with everything else as foreplay or secondary. But many people don't enjoy or prioritize penetration. Some even find it uncomfortable or triggering. Others find their deepest pleasure in oral sex, mutual touch, or emotional closeness. By elevating penetration above all else, we erase diverse bodies, preferences, and needs, especially in queer, disabled, or older communities. Great sex doesn't require penetration. It requires connection, consent, and pleasure. Whether that means kissing, cuddling, toys, massage, or non-sexual intimacy, the goal is shared joy, not ticking a box. Let's break away from scripts that limit our experiences and start celebrating the full, creative spectrum of human sexuality. When we free ourselves from rigid expectations, we create space for exploration, honesty, and authentic connection. Lie 19. STIs only happen to promiscuous people. Sexually transmitted infections don't discriminate. Anyone, regardless of age, gender, or number of partners, can get an STI. Yet society still stigmatizes those who test positive, labeling them as reckless or immoral. This shame keeps people from getting tested, talking to partners, or seeking treatment. The truth? STIs are common, treatable, and sometimes even symptomless. Regular testing, open communication, and protection are the real markers of responsibility, not your body count. We need to move away from fear-based messaging and toward informed, shame-free conversations. Getting tested isn't something to be embarrassed about, it's something to be proud of. Education and empathy reduce harm far more than judgment ever will. Remember, it's not the STI that's the problem, it's the stigma. Lie 20. Sex should look a certain way. Media constantly shows sex as a certain type. Passionate, loud, flawless, and heteronormative. That creates unrealistic standards for bodies, sounds, and sequences. In truth, sex can be soft, silly, quiet, awkward, or even spiritual. It can last 5 minutes or an hour. It might involve toys, fantasies, mobility aids, or emotional processing. There is no correct rhythm or appearance. Everyone's preferences, bodies, and experiences are unique. Trying to force your sex life into a mold creates anxiety, performance pressure, and disconnection. Real intimacy comes from comfort, creativity, and communication, not comparison. Let your sex life look like you, not a rom-com or adult film. Embrace the realness, the weirdness, the pauses, the laughs. That's what makes it meaningful. Lie 21. If you love someone, the sex will automatically be great. Love and sex are related, but they're not the same. Many people believe that if you're in love, the sex will just click. But real intimacy takes time, effort, and learning. Loving someone doesn't automatically mean you know their body, boundaries, or preferences. That takes communication, trust, and feedback. In fact, mismatched libidos, trauma, or unresolved emotional issues can make sex in loving relationships difficult. And that's okay. You're not broken if you struggle to connect physically with someone you adore. The key is honest conversation and shared curiosity. Love is a powerful foundation, but building great sexual chemistry is a journey. It's a process of growing together, being vulnerable, and adapting. Let's stop expecting love to solve everything and start seeing it as a tool for navigating growth together. Lie 22. Talking about sex will ruin the mystery. Some people avoid discussing sex because they think it will ruin the mood or kill the mystery. But the opposite is true. Clear, open communication builds trust, deepens intimacy, and leads to more satisfying experiences. When you know your partner's boundaries, desires, and fears, you can create a safe space to truly explore. Surprises are fun, but assumptions are not. The mystery that matters isn't about silence. It's about discovering things together. Talking about sex doesn't make it boring. It makes it better. Whether it's asking about fantasies, discussing consent, or checking in after, communication shows care. It turns sex from something you perform into something you share. So ditch the silence. Talk openly, explore bravely, and connect deeply. That's the real magic. Conclusion. Sex is one of the most natural parts of human life, yet it's been surrounded by myths, shame, and silence for centuries. The 22 lies we've unpacked here are just a start, but they reveal how deeply misinformation can affect our self-esteem, relationships, and health. The truth is, there's no single right way to experience sexuality. What matters is consent, communication, and care. It's time we stop whispering about sex and start speaking with honesty and compassion. The more we learn and unlearn, the better we become, for ourselves and for each other. Keep asking questions. Keep challenging the myths. Thanks for watching. If this video opened your eyes or helped you rethink sex education, give it a thumbs up and share with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more real talk, and until next time, stay curious and stay kind.